Labor's proposed changes. Independent MP Zoe Daniel has used question time to ask whether the government would consider an increase in the threshold.
Overall, I've supported the bill. However, does the government accept that the number should be raised to a higher number of full-time equivalent staff to acknowledge the concerns of our small businesses?
Electric and hybrid vehicles should become more affordable, with a deal reached to bring down their prices. The Greens and federal government have agreed to cut import tariffs and fringe benefits tax. The tax breaks will end for hybrids in 2025 but continue for pure electric cars. Green Senator Sarah Hanson-Young says it's a big win for consumers.
We will make sure that the government fleet is prioritising electric vehicles, to put more EVs on the road, to make sure there's more EVs that can be sold second-hand, and to ensure that EVs are more affordable to more people right across the country.
A tsunami warning has been issued after a magnitude 7 earthquake struck off the coast of the Solomon Islands. There's no tsunami risk to Australia, while efforts are continuing in Indonesia to find survivors of an earthquake that's killed dozens of people. Rescue workers are searching through rubble in West Java province. The magnitude 5.6 quake toppled buildings, killing at least 162 people and injuring hundreds. Wine producers are warning a ban on the name Prosecco will have significant consequences for businesses, regional communities and ultimately people. The right to use the grape variety name is under threat as Italy looks to claim exclusive rights under a free trade deal between Australia and the European Union. Australian Grape and Wines Damien Griffanti says it's not only industry members at risk.
It's also the supply chain. There's huge investments in regional tourism. So it's those regional communities that are doing it tough and going to suffer the most if we were to lose the name. So it has a lot broader scope, and there's also potential for this to create a point where other grape varieties could be at risk.
Now turning to FIVEAA sport, and Glenn Maxwell has opened up on the extreme damage he suffered in a recent accident at a friend's birthday party in Melbourne. The Australian all-rounder says the fall has led to him being sidelined for the next 2 months.
I shattered my fibula. It was snapped in half, but it shattered also through the bone. I think there was a bit of a chip off the tibia as well, but I ruptured all the ligaments on top of my foot.
At the MCG, Australia is currently none for 95 after 16 overs at the third and final one-dayer against England, while in day 3 of Sheffield Shield action, Queensland a short time ago were 8 for 269, chasing the Redbacks' first innings total of 240. Former Socceroo Craig Foster says Australia needs to throw the kitchen sink at France in their World Cup opener tomorrow morning. Foster believes the French may underestimate the Aussies and rest some of their first-choice stars. He says Australia's players will be fresh compared to the world champions.
Irrespective of who makes the first team for France, of course we're going to have to be at our very, very best, but that's the exciting part. This is why we want to be in World Cups. We want to take on the best in the world. They should go there with no fear.
England and the Netherlands had wins at the World Cup overnight, while USA and Wales drew 1-1. Now checking FIVEAA traffic.
At Flinders Park, urgent electrical works on Findon Road near Valletta Road. Hallett Cove, traffic lights out of action on Quailo Avenue at Gladstone Road. Surrey Downs, urgent electrical works there. That's on Hancock Road. It's closed between Yattlevale Road and Golden Grove Road. Well, right now we're busy Brighton Road at Jetty Road, Brighton. Cameras, Brooker Terrace, Richmond and Heaslip Road at Angle Vale. JB Hi-Fi's mega price blitz is on now with crazy deals like a Samsung Z Flip 3 phone for half price. JB stores open till 9 tonight. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on FIVEAA.
Now the FIVEAA forecast. Cloudy this afternoon, 18. Partly cloudy tomorrow, 20. Thursday sunny and 26. And Friday mostly sunny and 32. Right now it's 17 degrees. Now let's hear what's happening on 9 News Tonight.
Flood emergency. Details of the multi-million-dollar support package for river communities. South Australia's big mosquito boom, why it now has health authorities concerned. See an Adelaide red light runner's dangerous drive straight into the path of police. Plus the new solar product promising to slash your power bills. I'm Kate Collins. See the full story on 9 News tonight at 6.
$13.95, Adelaide's FIVEAA. This is Jade Robran.
bit of Harley and Rose. They just lost it for a while. Hope they found it again. It is 8 minutes past 3 o'clock. Thanks so much for joining us. It's time to talk motoring. So if you're thinking of buying, selling, swapping over a car, want to talk classics or EVs, lots to talk about EVs, now's the time to give us a buzz. 8223 0000.
Riding along in my automobile, my baby beside me at the wheel. I stole a kiss at the turn of a mile, my curiosity running wild, cruising and playing the radio with no particular place to go.
And joining us to talk cars, Mike Costello, news editor there at carexpert.com.au. Good afternoon, Mike.
Hello, great to be with you.
Great to have you on board. Let's talk a few EVs. Now, pronunciation I may not have right here, the Rimac Navara, it's becoming the world's fastest produced EV, is that right?
Isn't it extraordinary? So yeah, Rimac is the way it's pronounced, I'm told, by some Croatian friends of mine. So it's a Croatian company that recently, it's only really a few years old, but it has become an extraordinary success story and now actually co-owns the Bugatti supercar company. But yeah, it makes a car called the Navara. It is electric, but before, those people who don't love EVs switch off, keep in mind that it just set an all-time speed record for a road car of 412 kilometres an hour at a test facility in Papenburg, Germany, which is about a third the speed of sound, which is absolutely insane for a car.
Oh my golly, who even gets behind the wheel to test that? You have to be brave.
A very brave test and development driver by the name of Miro, and you'll have to forgive my pronunciation, anyone out there who speaks Croatian, but Zrncevic.
Nice.
And it was all verified and it's all filmed, and I think the main reason for this is just to show people that these electric cars may not sound as good as an old school V12, but man, can they go fast when you need them to.
Oof, well, that's craziness because you're never going to be able to go that fast ever, anywhere. What's the point?
I think it's all about saying that you can rather than actually doing it, right? It's all about the brag.
True, yeah, I get it. So let's talk Ford Ranger Raptor. This car just becomes more and more popular, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's an amazing story. So one of the very last vehicles that's developed for the entire world and engineered in Australia. So suits Australian conditions better than most, and kind of as a bit of a promotional tool, Ford recently in Australia took one that was basically the same as the one you can buy off showroom floors, added some safety equipment to it, did some minor mechanical updates, and entered in the iconic Baja 1000 off-road desert race in Mexico, which is about the most hardcore thing you can do to a 4x4. And it won its category. Admittedly, it was a category of one, so it only had to finish to get the result. But when you consider that Ranger Raptor you can buy off a showroom floor can actually compete almost stock in one of the hardest races in the world, I think it really shows what that vehicle can do if you really want to sort of put it through its paces.
Oh, I got a message here from Cynthia who's just asked, I love my little VW Polo, but I read an article that its future may not be existent. Is there any truth to that? Should I sell mine?
Potentially there is some truth to that. I wouldn't rush to sell now unless you don't like the car. The reality is cheap vehicles, there's not a lot of profit in them for car brands. And we're seeing this really, disappointing trend at the moment of a lot of car manufacturers no longer making their cheapest vehicles and instead focusing on bigger vehicles that have more profit in them. So Ford recently stopped making a car called the Fiesta, which is basically its version of the Volkswagen Polo. So there are some rumours of that. There's also some rumours that the next one might go electric in Europe, which of course would drive up the price. But any actual change to the situation in Australia will still be a few years away. So if you still like your car, I wouldn't be selling it immediately. Maybe just keep an eye on selling it over the next little while.
And Adam wants to know, what could you please tell me about the BYD brand?
I'm really glad you asked. I've actually spent quite a bit of time driving the BYD. So the BYD is a Chinese electric car brand. It's actually, one of its major shareholders is none other than Warren Buffett, the American billionaire. And it is now widely seen as essentially the second biggest EV manufacturer after Tesla, and is now exporting its vehicles outside of China to Australia, but also lots of Europe, even Japan, which is sort of a new territory for a Chinese brand. It has an electric SUV called Atto 3, which is the second cheapest EV that you can buy, under $50,000. And it's surprisingly excellent. Sometimes you drive a car from a brand you've never heard of and you're not quite sure what it's going to be like. But it's actually a really, really resolved car. And globally, BYD has got a huge amount of money and some enormous plans and is selling millions of vehicles a year now. So I think it is a brand you can trust. The only question marks are it is distributed in Australia by a third-party organisation. There's been a few issues around meeting regulations and there's been a couple of hiccups along the way launching that car. So I think that's one to watch. But the product itself, if you want a cheap electric vehicle, I would definitely encourage you to go have a look.
Okay. Sam wants to know, what can you tell me about the Mitsubishi Triton GLS? I just got a promotion and I want to spoil myself. Good on you, Sam.
A new dual cab ute. Yeah, so the Triton's great. The Triton has really carved out a spot. It's not as, I guess, beloved as the Ford Rangers and Toyota Hiluxes of the world, but it's definitely a more affordable proposition. It's not quite as cheap as some of the sort of new Chinese utes we're seeing coming into the market, but it's got the runs on the board. It's proven. It's a fairly good thing, actually. It can't tow quite as much as the Hilux and Triton, but unless you're towing 3.5 tons all the time, I wouldn't worry about that. Very nimble and wieldy around town because of its short wheelbase. Plenty of power, good fuel efficiency. If you're after a relatively affordable, well-priced dual cab ute that's been proven time and time again to be reliable, I think you could do a lot worse. So, yeah, if you're going down that path, I certainly wouldn't discourage you.
Now, Mike, I've been handed a press release in regards to electric vehicles. The Electric Vehicle Council has released it saying a new deal, a landmark moment for EV policy in Australia. Do you know anything about this?
I do indeed know something about this. Do you want to talk about it?
I would love to. Yeah, what's happening?
So basically, the Albanese government a little while ago proposed some policies to try and get the popularity of EVs to climb. That centred around some fringe benefits tax exemptions, which would encourage businesses to buy more electric vehicles, and also getting rid of any import tariffs from regions where there are no free trade agreements for EVs. That has now passed through the Houses of Parliament with some help from the Greens and Senator David Pocock this morning. So the news is that this policy that we already knew about has now entered law. There were a few amendments around plug-in hybrids. The government wanted plug-in hybrids to be eligible, but they won't be eligible from a certain period of time. But the idea here fundamentally with fringe benefits tax stuff, and it's a little bit boring really, is that it will theoretically encourage more businesses to buy electric cars for their fleets, which means in 3, 4, 5 years' time, when those fleets turn over into new vehicles, there'll be a lot more used electric cars on the market, which will obviously pull down the price for people and theoretically allow more people to buy them as, as second-hand cars. So that's really the driving force behind the policy. And if you are in the electric vehicle space like I am, I think it's good to see. I mean, if you're a clever accountant, you can theoretically save $9,000 a year on a $50,000 EV with some clever accounting by using this fringe benefits tax exemption. So it could really make a big difference.
That could basically be your payments every year, yeah?
Yeah, it really could. And I think, the only thing holding that side of things back now is going to be supply. We've all heard stories about the fact that there's a shortage of EVs and we can't get our hands on enough. And if demand increases with tax breaks, well, maybe that problem will become even more stark. But it is good to see, in my opinion at least, the government starting to keep up with the rest of the world.
Graham has been on your website and he says he saw an article on the Mercedes EQG. He goes, it looks sick. What do you like about it?
Well, the G-Wagon is one of the most iconic cars of all time. It's a boxy 4x4, absolute weapon of a machine. It's looked exactly the same for the last few decades, and that's kind of what people love about it. And yeah, it's going electric, just like everything else is. There are obviously some major impediments to that because, first of all, it's not very aerodynamic. It's shaped like a cereal box, and that's not good for driving range. But also, if you are going off-road, there's a lot of question marks over how good EVs can be off-road. But this car is really going to show that I think those things can be navigated. You can have really precise control of the electric motors at each wheel, which really delivers the power and torque in a much more precise way than traditional mechanical differentials and things like that will. As long as they can keep the weight down and they can make it not cost an absurd amount of money, it could be a really cool machine. And I think a lot of people that drive around in the V8 ones at the moment will use these new EV ones as a bit of a status symbol when we see it in a few years' time.
Why is he saying it looks sick?
Because, well, I mean, styling is entirely subjective, right? But I personally think it looks absolutely amazing, and I think he probably does too. But it looks about as old school as you could get. So if you're somebody that doesn't love modern design and you like the sort of more brutal, boxy, old school design, it's definitely the car for you.
Nice. We're going to take a super short break, but if you'd like to talk to Mike about any car questions at all, he's only with us for a few short moments, so get on the blower and give us a buzz, 8223 0000.
CPAP Direct are Australia's largest family-owned treatment centre for snoring and sleep apnea. This Thursday, tune into Afternoons with Jade. She'll be joined by company owner Bryce Perrin from 2:30 till 3:30. He'll answer all your questions about snoring, tips on CPAP devices, and what you can do if you or your partner think you have a problem. All from the FIVEAA Interactive Lounge. Don't miss CPAP Direct with Jade Robran this Thursday from 2:30 p.m. 1395 Adelaide's FIVEAA.
Gazza, time to down tools.
Mate, TGIF.
Yeah, nah, TGIBF.
Oh, what, like best friends?
Black Friday at Toolkit Depot.
Oh, righto, yeah, we can do that too.
Get epic Black Friday deals, like 20% off selected hand tools and power tool accessories and up to 50% off workwear. More deals in-store and online. Stock is limited, so get in quick. Toolkit Depot, your Trade Pro partner.
Get started on your to-do list before summer hits. Whether it's plumbing, electrical or something else, RAA Trade Assist is ready to help our members. Don't rely on a DIY, let RAA Trade Assist do it. Visit raa.com.au/Trade Assist for more info and
keep on moving on.
It's time to discover authentic beauty. Let Silver Sea and Phil Hoffman Travel take you closer to the hidden parts of the world. With over 25 years experience, Silver Sea have been creating all-inclusive luxury cruise holidays to unforgettable destinations. Your intimate luxury cruise ship offers personalised service, beverages throughout the cruise and gourmet dining. Book with Phil Hoffman Travel and receive an exclusive $1,000 per person air credit off select European cruises. Visit pht.com.au.
Come on in.
We open our doors to people we trust and care about. And for over 85 years, South Australians have been opening their doors to Rest Haven. In turn, we've been opening doors to an easier, better life at home. From personal care to help with the shopping and social outings, you'll welcome the care that Rest Haven brings.
Be ready for life's ups and downs with Bupa. Get extras cover from under $3.50 a week. Search Bupa Extras Cover. Bupa, because life happens. Based on Freedom 50 extras, including base tier for a single aged under 65. Waiting periods may apply.
The 2022 Port Noarlunga Blues Festival will host over 50 artists in 75 performances inside 15 venues over 3 days. 48 performances in the pub and cafes are free entry. Main events boast 8 Ball Aiken, Oscar Liddell, Chris Finnan and British blues guitarist Matt Schofield. November 25 to 27. Visit the website portnoarlungabluesfestival.com.au for information about artists, venues, performance times and tickets.
Top of the list? First pick, numero uno. If you've been dreaming of choosing a new Mazda, Mawson Lakes Mazda want to give you preferential treatment. New stock has arrived, and right now you can take first pick of the Mazda range and lock in an amazing deal. Get behind the wheel of your dream Mazda sooner. See the new stock available for delivery now. Mawson Lakes Mazda, just a short drive from the city.
1395 Adelaide's FIVEAA. This is Jade Robran.
It's 22 minutes past 3 o'clock. Welcome back to the program. And if you'd like to tune in to our live stream, that is all thanks to Foodland Supermarkets. You can do so on Facebook or on YouTube. We're talking cars with Mike Costello, the news editor at carexpert.com.au. And Alex in Blackwood has called in to ask you a question. Hi, Alex.
Yeah, how are you, Jade? How are you, Mike?
Good, bud.
G'day, mate. Yeah. Listen, I've got a Mazda CX-7 with 180,000 kilometres on it. Thirsty as you wouldn't believe. I had the CO2 units done on a few months ago. Doesn't seem to have changed a thing. I'm just wondering whether that I've heard different reviews. Some people say they're a good car, and then most people say they're a terrible vehicle. What are your thoughts?
The CX-7?
Yeah.
Well, 180,000 Ks, it's obviously been okay to get that far on. I mean, I think they're fairly well regarded. There's certainly some stories that you hear. The problem that you get as cars get older is they've all got such different stories. It's sort of hard to piece together. Aside from a couple of recent experiences that you've had, have you overall had a good time with the car, or have you only had it for a brief amount of time?
Look, yeah, I have. I actually really like the car, and I like the size of it. Thinking, fuel the way it is these days, maybe I should be looking at something similar size. Was looking at a 2019 Subaru Outback.
Yep.
With 60,000 Ks on it, and that was only 26 grand. I thought that wasn't too bad.
I reckon the Outback is such a good sweet spot because it's not quite like your traditional SUV. It's a little bit more passenger car-like, but it's still got plenty of ground clearance, and it's got a really good all-wheel drive system. Old Subarus tend to be pretty bulletproof. They're a little bit expensive to maintain compared to some, but the price you just mentioned with the Ks on it, that actually sounds like a relatively good car. If you are having issues with the CX-7, it does get to the point where it becomes a money pit. You've got to make that decision. If you're putting too much money into a car that's not worth all that much, you're probably better off upgrading. And the Outback extension sounds like a pretty good choice. So you've obviously done your homework.
Yeah. What are you thinking on the Mazda? What sort of money would I be expecting to sell that to privately?
Oh, to be honest with you, mate, you've kind of got me there. I'm actually not au fait with that specific car. Your best bet, though, is do the old go on car sales, do a search for CX-7s of around the year of yours, the average number of kilometres on it, take that average price and just whack another 1,000 on it and just see how you go.
Yeah, they vary. They vary from 5 to 15, you know.
There's a few people that are really changing their arms at the moment and charging a bit too much, so probably about right, I'd say.
All right, Paul, you've been helpful. Thank you.
No dramas.
Thanks, Alex, very much. Let's now go to Paul. Hi, Paul.
G'day, how are you?
Excellent, thank you.
Good, thanks, Jade. I've got a question. We've got a Toyota Kluger SUV black model series. We were just wondering about the capabilities on dirt road. I'm not talking rugged dirt road, but particularly what sort of tyres would you recommend? I mean, the tyres they came with nearly ready to be changed, but I just wondered about a tyre that would be like doing the river run up the Darling River. Not now at the moment because I know it's flooded, but when it comes good, what's the sort of tyre you'd recommend that we use?
Yeah, so the good compromise is an all-terrain. You don't really... A highway terrain is strictly for tarmac. A proper chunky off-road tyre is going to be very noisy and unpleasant when you're not actually using it off-road. So an all-terrain is a nice middle ground. Brands like BF Goodrich, but all of the main tyre brands make their versions of them. Is your Kluger the front-wheel drive or the all-wheel drive? Because it was only all-wheel drive as an option.
All-wheel drive it is at the moment. Yeah, it's all-wheel drive.
So it's an on-demand system. So basically, when the car's brain detects that the front wheels are slipping a bit, it will tell it to send a bit of engine power and torque to the rear axle. So it is a reactive system, but on gravel and on sort of mild off-roading duties, they're actually relatively good. Tyres are a huge part of it, as you know. They're the only contact point. So a good all-terrain tyre, and you'll go further than you think, actually.
Okay. Oh, well, thanks very much for that. That's good information. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
More than welcome.
Thanks, Paul. Have a great afternoon. Let's go to Tom now in Holden Hill. Hey, Tom.
G'day. Long story short, GM they tried to get back all the EV1s they leased out. I apologise, my throat's playing out. Were any of those vehicles secretly kept aside, and is there any still in existence?
Very good question. Yeah, it's one of the great sagas of early electric car development. They were all crushed. I don't know of any that have been kept, which doesn't mean that they haven't been kept, because there might be some people keeping them very secretly away. My understanding of how it worked, not knowing it intimately, is that General Motors leased the vehicles out and kept a pretty tight leash on who had them and when, so it was easy to collect them up. But there might be one or two surviving somewhere. There weren't many built, so I wouldn't bank my money on it, but the majority at least are no longer with us. So if there are a couple that remain, they're probably being kept very secretly, I would say. Although I suspect GM probably still has one or two internally of its own.
I mean, maybe we should be producing a basic EV type, similar to that? Because a lot of people don't want all the bells and whistles along with the price tag.
Well, this is the big problem with EVs, isn't it? And you're starting to see a bit of a trend now of some more basic electric cars, but even the basic ones are so expensive at this point in time. So it's just going to have to be a matter of just giving it time to let the technology mature.
Thank you.
Cheers, Tom.
Most welcome.
Go get yourself a drink, you poor thing. We've got Vassy on the line. Hello.
Oh, yeah, g'day. Look, I can't remember the chap's name.
Mike, we're talking to?
Mike. Yeah, Mike. Just
Hi.
want to tell you about, I've got a U-Butte little Corolla hatch. It's a 11 model, 2007, and that went all the way to Darwin and back and did not miss a beat. So they are a great little run-around car. So,
Old Corollas are unbreakable. When nuclear war happens, the cockroaches and the Corollas will be all that remain. You just cannot kill them.
So it was so smooth on the road, and only had one flat tyre, but otherwise it just cruised along. And those 130k's in Northern Territory didn't miss a beat. So very, very reliable.
That's fantastic to hear, and there's a reason why Toyota Corollas have such brilliant resale value. It's because they just tend to be so unbreakable and they just go forever. So I'm really glad to hear that yours lived up to the hype.
Oh, yeah, it certainly did.
How'd it go on fuel?
It was. I can't remember, but it's pretty good. The only thing is the tank is not. I can't remember how many litres it has. So you just have to be wary of the next stop because going up, certain parts through, after Alice, that you've got to watch where the petrol station is. So there was one time. I don't know how much reserve the petrol got, but it was on. It was on yellow. My husband was a bit anxious, but I'm sort of we've got the reserve, and here's one that's half full. We better fill up. So
you'll be right, Dal. We'll be right.
We did get right. We was right on the edge, I think, as we pulled into the petrol station. Anyway, all part of the journey of the outback.
This is true, Vassy. That would freak me out driving at 130 clicks, though. That's huge.
No, it's actually surprising that you just think you're doing 100. You don't notice it really, and like I said, this little Corolla, it just purrs along. Doesn't rattle. It just you don't notice it. So
love it.
And anyway, great trip for anyone that wants to get out there. The Adelaide, the Cooper Pedy, the Alice, the Darwin. It's a great trip.
Beautiful. Thanks so much, Vassy. Loved that story. Mike, that's a wrap.
It's a wrap already. God, time
is.
flies by, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us.
Absolute pleasure. Anytime.
Mike Costello there from carexpert.com.au.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Good afternoon, I'm Michaela Kamarek. A $51.6 million financial package has been unveiled for River Murray communities hit by flooding. Independents are urging the federal government to reconsider the definition of a small business as part of its IR reforms. A tsunami warning has been issued after a magnitude 7 earthquake struck off the coast of the Solomon Islands, and the Socceroos take on France in their first World Cup match tomorrow morning. Cloudy this afternoon, 18, currently at 17 degrees. More news at 4 o'clock in As It Happens on 5AA.
He's the king of breakfast TV and the chairman of The Power. And each Monday, David Kosh joins David and Will on 5AA Breakfast.
How do you reckon Qatar's going in terms of marketing involving the World Cup?
Watch a Netflix documentary called FIFA Uncovered. The corruption within FIFA, the FBI raids, all surrounding the World Cup in Qatar.
Catch Koshy each Monday on 5AA Breakfast.
Is it possible to create tomorrow's car today? Hyundai believes so. Take the Tucson, Hyundai's midsize SUV, featuring a revolutionary look, intuitive interior, advanced tech, and safety. You can enjoy all this in the Tucson Turbo Diesel all-wheel drive. Available now. Tomorrow's car is here today. Hyundai Tucson, in stock now. Visit Hyundai.com.au. Imagine that. Hyundai.
I was a passenger in a serious crash when a car came out of nowhere. My life was completely turned upside down and I couldn't return to work. This was emotionally and financially overwhelming. But with my free meeting with Marnie's lawyers, I found out I was able to make a claim. They gave me advice about my rights and offered a no-win, no-fee payment arrangement. Thanks to the team at Marnie's, I received the compensation I was entitled to.
Marnie's Lawyers, injury compensation experts. marnies.net.au.
When you're going fishing, you never know what's going to bite. But don't worry, Barnacle Bills is always a catch. Whenever you need to tackle lunch or dinner, your trusty favourites are always there, like prawns, calamari, butterfish, whiting, chippies and more. Barnacle Bill is your seaside in the suburbs.
Hey, Rowie, do you want this calamari?
Gents, have you got the urge to pee again, even though you only just went? Caruso's Pee Less for Men relieves that annoying gotta pee again feeling and helps support healthy bladder and prostate function. So, if your need to pee all the time is getting in the way of enjoying life, try Caruso's Pee Less today. Caruso's Pee Less is made in Australia, comes with a money-back guarantee and is available from leading pharmacies and health food stores. Always read the label and follow the directions for use.
Hello, I'm Lynn Andrews. For over 50 years, we have specialised in commercial and residential property management. But above all, we specialise in people, helping to make life easy for property investors and the tenants of their properties. Everyone is treated with integrity and respect. That's the Lynn Andrews way. For commercial and residential property management, we are here to help. Visit lynandrews.com.au.
City Discount Tires. Get saving this month at City Discount Tires. When you buy 3 Wild Peak AT3W all-terrain tyres, you'll get the 4th tyre free. The perfect tyre for your next adventure. City Discount Tires are a proud multi-tyre and wheel brand retailer offering great service at great prices. Visit citydiscounttires.com.au to find your nearest store. City Discount Tires. We're driven by value. City Discount Tires.
$13.95, Adelaide's FIVEAA. This is Jade Robran.
It's 25 minutes to 4 o'clock. Thanks for tuning in. In a moment, we're going to take a couple of calls. I've got a few Wallace Cinema passes to give away to catch a movie at Mitcham, Mount Barker or Noarlunga. We want to hear your energy-saving tips that you're using around the home right now. I mentioned that I'm using the air fryer a lot, which means I don't have to have the oven going, to warm it up and do all of that. Could be better at meal prepping because that'd be good for the waste and also the energy saving as well. Solar lights, I probably could go out to Bunnings or Mitre 10 and buy a couple of those. So, we had a bit of a chat earlier on in the show about a whole lot of fun hacks around the house as to how you can cut back on prices around the home. So call in and let us know, how are you trying to cut down on your energy bills? Can you believe it's been 25 years since the death of Michael Hutchence, the lead singer of In Excess? It's absolutely incredible how quickly time flies, isn't it? Pretty much, I reckon you could say he was at the peak. They were rocking the world, so popular. He was meant to be going to a rehearsal with his bandmates and just never arrived. 25 years to this day today. Call in and let us know, what's your favourite In Excess song? 8223 0000. We'll talk about that a little later in the program as well. But winemakers say that jobs could be lost and businesses could go under if the government does give in to a demand from Italy to stop using the word Prosecco. Joining us is Peter Baverstock, who is a sparkling winemaker from Cuvée Wines. Peter, thank you very much for joining us. Good afternoon.
Jade, it's a pleasure.
Talk to us about this. Are they for real?
Look, I think Prosecco is pretty popular in Australia. It's a beautiful, easy drinking, sparkling wine that is going through an upturn with the intake, and I think it's here to stay. I feel the variety planted in the ground, well, not just in the King Valley in Victoria, but here in the Limestone Coast where I'm based as well as through the Adelaide Hills. And so I think the variety will remain here, and also the consumer will have a thirst for it. So I think our jobs are safe, and I think the naming of the variety, though, is the contentious part of the debate at the moment.
Well, we all know what Prosecco is. I mean, you know that it's a sparkling. You might not know the nitty-gritty of exactly what Prosecco is, but you know it's basically a bubbly sparkling. So if that word's taken away, I mean, you risk losing your identity.
Yeah, you do. I mean, the Prosecco is the grape variety. That's how we refer to it, just like we would Chardonnay or Pinot Noir. But with Prosecco, the name being contentious at the moment is because only as recently as 2009, the Italians declared Prosecco as an appellation or as a geographical indicator for where that region in Italy is its name. So they've now tried to call that variety that we know it as here in Australia, planted as Prosecco, as a unique naming place in Italy. And so hence they are no longer wanting us to use the name Prosecco to identify that beautiful, light, crisp, sparkling wine that we know Prosecco is. And here where I live down in the southeast, it was only in 2010 that Mount Gambier became a geographical indicator or a GI. So I get the argument from where the Italians are coming from. We wouldn't want, for instance, if there was a variety Mount Gambier planted on the other side of the world and for that to be used.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of, I guess, how you can get your head around what the Italians are wanting. But it's not like the Champagne argument where Champagne, as we all know, when I think of Champagne, it's a region in France, the northeast of Paris, and I know that style of sparkling is very much an appellation wine that comes only from the one place of Champagne, and it's made from Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, Pinot Meunier. We don't have a variety here in Australia called Champagne. So we're not allowed to use that word Champagne, and I think that's, in its right, we shouldn't be using it. But I don't know that it will probably be negotiations with this coming into the near future. So for now, I think people can still expect to find Prosecco labelled here in Australia.
But I mean, Italy changed the name of the grape to Glera, didn't they, in 2009? So what are they that miffed about? They don't even call it Prosecco anymore.
That's right, they don't. They have come up with that synonym for it. And so, yeah, they're wanting us to use that name on our labelling as well. I think Prosecco, it's quite fun to say. It's the global uptake. It's one of the biggest consumed sparkling wines. It's bigger than Champagne. I think Cava from Spain is probably just nudging the number one position, but Prosecco is definitely on a global tidal wave of consumption at the moment. So I think that might have something to do with it.
Tell me, is it true that it's more alcoholic than sparkling and Champagne?
No, quite the opposite, actually.
Ah.
Yeah, with the Prosecco that I make under my label Cuvée Co, I actually pick the grapes a little bit earlier than I would for a bottle fermented sparkling. So I pick it at around the 10.5 Beaumet, and Beaumet is just our sugar reference or measure, and then that pretty much translates 1-for-1 to alcohol. So you're looking at about a 10.5% alcohol concentration in the wine. And then, Jade, I'm sure you've had a Aperol Spritzer before, or...
Oh, do you know what? I don't like them.
Oh, don't you?
No. I love a glass of Prosecco, but I can't do the Aperol Spritzers.
Oh, which is the bitter orange, like a liqueur that gets added to make I quite enjoy them. They're very refreshing on a summer's day, but there's so much you can do with Prosecco. Around Christmas time, peaches come into season, and you can make a peach Bellini, which essentially is 50-50 peaches pureed with Prosecco over crushed ice, and it's what you're doing there is diluting that alcohol again, and so it does become quite a moderate, drink for the standard alcohol drinks. Or when we look at what on the labelling, how many standard drinks are in a bottle of wine, you're actually starting to help reduce that number by having it over ice or mixing it. So, yeah, and it's very simple winemaking. I quite enjoy it to have one in my portfolio. I make an exclusive sparkling wine range, and so it made a lot of sense for me to also include a Prosecco in there, which is quite different to, as I just mentioned before, those method traditional or the bottle fermented sparklings, which are quite complex with their yeast or autolysis or aromas and flavours. So I think it really suits our lifestyle. Here in Australia, we have pretty much a veranda sparkling wine that you can open and enjoy, or it can go from a brunch time setting through to a wedding. So it has a lot of versatility and it's really quite price accessible. So I think that's also something that has seen its own popularity as well.
Peter, thanks so much for the chat. I'm sure it's here to stay. I think they're just having a little bit of a whinge. If we're a little bit nice to them, they'll surely let us keep calling it Prosecco. What a fabulous idea that is. I'm more of a Pimm's girl when it comes to my little refreshing drinks, but when it comes to a little bubbles on Christmas morning, it is a Prosecco. That's how I like to pop open, and that is a brilliant idea, Peter, though. Getting a bit of, peach nectarine, anything like that, bit of nectar over crushed ice. Yum. Oh, I'm writing down that recipe just as we speak now. Got a couple of messages coming through. Prosecco, yes, love. It spritz. Pass. No, so same. I don't like the spritz either. It reminds me of medicine as a kid, and I don't know what medicine I must have had as a child, but I find it really bitter, and I can't have the spritzes. But yes, thumbs up to the Prosecco as well. Okay, we are going to take a couple of calls now. We've got Stephen on the line. Hi, Stephen.
Hey,
good.
What I done was, when all the kids were at home, I walked through the house one day and I went to each room and I thought, right, there's so much stuff on standby. Like each room had a TV with a DVD player and whatever. The computer had a printer on standby when it was turned off. So much stuff on standby, right?
Mm.
So what I've done was I went to Cheapest Chips and I bought 10 power boards, the 4 power boards?
Yep.
But they've got to be the one with the red light with a switch.
Yes.
So the idea is you can turn the whole 4 power boards off at once, but you can see the red light.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now I'll put one behind our big TV in the lounge room, one behind the monitor of our computer. I'll put one in every bedroom.
Yeah.
Right? So all you have to do is put your head inside the door and you can see the red lights on. So you turn it off and it turns everything off.
See, smart.
Right? And then, when I go to bed at night, I'll finish watching TV, I'll turn TV off, and then I'll turn off the red light and it turns off the DVD player. And I'll make sure the computer's turned off, which turns off the printer and whatever else.
And how much has that saved you, do you think?
Well, I reckon it's done heaps, because you think about it. Because we had 4 kids at home with 5 bedrooms, and they all had TVs. We got a TV even in the kitchen. So we had so much stuff on standby.
You would have.
Get me?
Yeah.
So,
that's an enormous amount. Because that's, I think, what we do forget. Even though you've got the microwave door shut, the lights are still on. You've got, you turn the TV off at the remote, it's still basically on.
Yeah, so I bought 10 power boards. As long as you buy the one with the red light it's a switch.
Very clever.
At night time, you go to bed, you just turn it off and bingo, everything's off.
Do you have to reset everything, though? Reboot it all?
Well, the thing is, I don't turn the router off for the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's anything like that you don't want turned off, you don't plug it in there.
Yeah, easy. Makes sense.
So everything in our house is turned off except for the router, probably, for the internet.
I'm gonna pinch your idea. I think that's a sensational one.
We used to have those ones where they came around to your house and it turned your TV off for you.
Yeah.
The trouble was I kept falling asleep, and every time I woke up, the TV would turn itself off. So I got rid of it.
No, I like your idea much, much more. Stay on the line because I'm going to send you a couple of tickets to a Wallace cinema pass, Mitcham, Mount Barker or Noarlunga, and just jump onto wallace.com.au to check out session times. A lot of good movies around at the moment. We're going to take a short break. Back soon.
5AA's Variety Radiothon is on this Friday, with your chance to bid on some great auction items, as well as the opportunity to donate towards this great SA charity. This year, our great friends at Cochrane's Transport are matching dollar for dollar donations that come through on Radiothon Day. Cochrane's is a great locally owned business that delivers more boxes, cartons and pallets across SA every night than any other transport company. Cochrane's Transport, supporting Radiothon.
We could all do with a getaway this summer, and here's how you can get your hands on a free $75 travel voucher to help you along. SA Weekend Escapes is giving away free vouchers for short stays across the state. From Berry to Victor Harbour to Kangaroo Island, there are so many places to discover. Elevate your summer with a $75 travel voucher from saweekendescapes.com.au. That's saweekendescapes.com.au. Get your travel voucher now. T's and C's apply.
If you want retaining wall sleepers that will last and last, the only concrete sleepers you should be using is Outback Sleepers. They're the strongest concrete sleeper available, and they come with a 35-year product warranty. Once it's in, nothing's going to move it. Nah, still there. Ask for the brand Outback Sleepers, sold at over 60 local landscaping and hardware stockists, or look online at outbacksleepers.com.au.
2 golden, crunchy wicked wings, regular chips, creamy potato and gravy, and a fresh dinner roll. Is that a KFC deal we hear? Yep, all your fave Kentucky Fried Chicken classics for just $4.95. How good is that? Treat yourself the Savo with this wicked hot deal and fill up with some serious fried gold for a golden price. There's no time like the present, so why not snag this one, the Savo? Drop into your nearest KFC store, but don't mess around. Grab this wicked hot deal before 4 p.m. You can thank us later. Not everywhere and not forever. Pick up only, available until 4 p.m.
Switch on Black Friday at Officeworks. Get the Lenovo Flex 5 laptop for $547 or the Lenovo 29-inch ultra-wide monitor for $247. Hurry into Officeworks for lower prices.
There's one sign on Doothie Street Unley you must see. It's the Kirkbride Seafood sign. It changes daily, from fresh crays to Atlantic salmon, King George whiting, garfish and SA King prawns. All sustainably fished and processed on site at Kirkbride Seafood. Not some faraway factory. It's a good sign that you're getting the best you can get and so close to the city. See what's on the sign today. Kirkbride Seafood, Doothie Street Unley. kirkbrideseafood.com.au.
Hi, I'm Kay. I work with St. Louis Home Care and I'm an enrolled nurse and I work as a community coordinator.
St. Louis was started by my great-grandmother and now is one big happy family with lovely staff just like Kay.
The people that work for St. Louis are very loving, caring.
Whether it's gardening, meals, shopping, home maintenance or social activities, we help people stay at home for longer.
If you're interested, come and join us.
Google St. Louis Home Care today.
$13.95, Adelaide's 5AA. This is Jade Robran.
Welcome back to the program. It's 9 minutes to 4 o'clock. We are live streaming on Facebook and YouTube, all thanks to Foodland Supermarkets. Can you believe it has been 25 years to the day since the world lost one of the best entertainers, Michael Hutchence, the lead singer of INXS?
Is this moment 21st century's yesterday. You can care all you want. Everybody does, yeah, that's okay.
Now, Hutchence was scheduled to meet his bandmates in the studio to rehearse for an upcoming tour, but sadly he never arrived. Joining us is music guru Paul Cashmere, who is the executive producer and founder of Noise11.com. Paul, great to have you on the program. Good afternoon.
And hi to you, Jade. Yes, can't believe it's 25 years already.
It is crazy to think that it is. It's 25 years. He was pretty much at the height of his career.
Yeah, I guess, we're talking about this today because this is 25 years being a quarter of a century, and In Excess were absolutely massive. I remember the day vividly. It was on a weekend. It was only a few weeks, I think 6 or 7 weeks after Princess Diana died. So it was all very fresh for Australia at the time. And it was totally unexpected because, as you say, In Excess were in Australia. They were rehearsing in Sydney. Michael was due to be going to that rehearsal that day, and it wasn't to be. And, they were about to start an Australian tour, and it just never happened. I think that was the shock. Not only was he in the country, but so many In Excess fans around the country had already purchased tickets and, would have had them on their fridge or in their wallet or, just waiting to go to the show in the coming days or coming weeks.
And sadly, they now become a keepsake. How's he being remembered today? Have we heard from any of his bandmates?
Well, Andrew Farris has been talking up and thanking the fans for all of the memories. And, when we think about Michael, Michael and Andrew go hand in hand like Lennon and McCartney or Jagger and Richards. Invariably, all of the In Excess songs were written together, with the exception of a few where Michael would have done something with John Farris or he would have done something by himself. But as a general rule, Andrew Farris wrote all of the music and Michael wrote all of the words. So hearing from Andrew and, just the sentiment that, even to this day, well, I guess it would never go away for somebody like that because he just had, his not only one of his best friends, but his writing partner ripped away from him. It would be a very memorable day for all the wrong reasons, I would imagine.
And the band, they tried to find somebody to take that lead mic, but they just never found a replacement, did they? You just can't.
Well, there was a few along the way that could have been fantastic. John Stevens from Noiseworks was the singer for In Excess at some point, but sort of that fell apart because they weren't recording any new music during that time. Terence Trent D'Arby did one of the shows, so I remember seeing that one in Australia at one point. There was also Susie DiMarchi. They were attempting to have a female lead singer at one point. And I think, the tragedy was that they opted for the dollars and went for the cheap thrill of the reality TV show. And when they did that Rockstar In Excess and they found Jade Fortune, as a result of that, it just went ugly. It was just the wrong move at the time, and that was pretty much the first one that came after Michael, and it was just embarrassing.
Yeah, full stop. Hey, Paul, let's talk about Pink. She performed last night at the American Music Awards honouring Olivia Newton-John. How beautiful was it?
A real honour, and I don't know what's happened to the state funeral Victoria is meant to be having for Olivia Newton-John, because that was announced at the time of her passing and accepted by the family. We're still waiting to hear details for that, and I do not know. I've been in contact with the government here, and they say that it's still happening, but they're waiting on details from the family, so I don't know what the hold-up is there. All they said was that there are a lot of international names that need to be coordinated to make it happen. So, I would personally say that this far down the track it's probably too late, but it's good to see that Olivia is being honoured in other ways, such as the Pink performance with Hopelessly Devoted to You at the American Music Awards last night. And I was seeing that Pink had said something that her daughter had sort of got her into Olivia Newton-John because she was doing a stage production of Grease. So that would have been a lot of fun for Pink and her family, and Corey, her husband, to go along and mum up there performing Hopelessly Devoted to You instead of the school concert where their daughter usually does it.
That's so true. How cool is that? Paul, thank you so much. We'll play you a teeny tiny little bit and then sports coming up next. Have a great afternoon.
Guess my